Afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us with Afternoons with Artifacts. My name is Heather Nickerson. I'm the founder and CEO of Artifacts. I am a lifelong storyteller, memory keeper, also former CIA officer, but I spent the past 5 years growing and building artifacts.com, which is a secure technology platform. And I'm thrilled today to have Zoe Kim join us for a conversation about how the most simple way to save family recipes and pass on traditions. For those of you who don't know Zoe, Zoe is the author of Minimalism for Families, which is a fabulous book. I highly recommend it. I will pop the link into chat once I'm done speaking. Zoe's also a minimalist mom to seven and the voice behind Raising Simple. She believes in developing a minimalist lifestyle through positive perspective changes and practical solutions, which is why we're here today. We're having a very practical, hands-on conversation. Her teaching and writing style is pragmatic and thoughtful, and her goal is to help us all find the best solutions to simplifying our homes and our life to really enjoy those small moments with our families. So, Zoe, over to you. Oh, I think you're on mute, Zoe.
I was muting it from the train, guys, but I saw somebody on here say they like to hear the train and that their dad was a train conductor. So that's awesome. Well, yeah, so thank you so much for that introduction, Heather. My name is Zoe. I'm so happy to be here to spend this time with you guys talking about simplifying, which is something I love to talk about. And as Heather said, I'm a mom and stepmom to seven kids. So we're a blended family, and I've been living a minimalist lifestyle for, I think I'm at 15 years now. So I started when my kids were young. And like anything, when you work the muscle, it gets easier. So I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Awesome. All right, Zoe, I just popped the link to your book into chat. That's a
Thank
really
you.
long link. Oops. But let's kick off the conversation today. We are super excited ahead of the holidays, trying to get really proactive and hopefully reduce stress on all of us. If you're hosting, if you're cooking, if you're traveling and bringing a favorite dish across the country or over state lines or just next door, we wanted to share some tips and tricks for how to ensure you're able to save the memories and the stories and the family history while also passing down those recipes. So, first up, Zoe, um, your content on Raising Simple is all about living intentionally and keeping what truly adds value to your life.
Mhm.
When we think about preserving family recipes, how does that mindset apply to doing just that? Especially when so many of us have overflowing cookbooks, printed recipes, digital clutter, like you name it. And I'm very guilty of this. I have way more cookbooks than I probably ever used.
Yeah. Well, let me just say, living a minimalist lifestyle, I do like to um, just clarify too that it's about having a filter on your life, right? There's the minimalism as a lifestyle, and then there's minimalism as an aesthetic. You don't have to have white walls. You don't have to have a perfect house. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. So living a minimalist lifestyle is just about being intentional. So it's about keeping the things that really add value to your life that you love, that you're using. And for this, definitely the same goes for recipes. I as well have had to get rid of a lot of paper recipes. And I don't know if any of you have ever used any of those subscription meal companies where there was a time where my kids were younger and I was just feeling burnt out from cooking and trying to think of like, what do I make tonight? So I did 6 months of one of those, Hello Fresh or something, and I had this stack of all these recipes. And I'm going to admit I hung on to them a little bit longer than I should have, but they're gone now. So instead of holding on to hundreds of things or hundreds of recipes that you never make, I always save the ones that have meaning, and the ones that I'm actually using.
Yeah. I bet a lot of people can relate to what you just said, holding on to a stack of recipes that big that you might never go back to and use again. So, do
Yeah.
you have any tips for our audience members from a minimalist perspective? Like, how do you suggest deciding like which ones to keep, which ones to digitize, and which ones to let go of?
Yeah. I think, I'm going to say, I think Marie Kondo had a quote. Um, and I'm not going to say exactly how it is, but the sentiment is, deciding what to keep becomes much easier when you're trying to decide, like, well, should I keep this or let go of it? Instead of saying, should I let go of it? Just go to your favorites. Go to your top 10 tried and true that you're making all the time and just start there and set those aside. And one of the tips, like a little exercise that I like to tell people to try, and a lot of people have found it helpful, is maybe clear out where you keep your recipes, right? So just keep the ones that you want and that you're using, and take all the other cookbooks that you haven't opened or whatnot and set those aside maybe in a box just for, don't get rid of them, just set them aside maybe for 4 weeks and see how it is, right, this holiday season, using your that area, and how much easier it is and how much more you enjoy that space. And then try to decide if you can even remember what you had there and if you even miss it.
And I
So,
will say that a lot of us may not remember what we had there or
you know,
may not even miss it if we follow that advice. Is that what
yeah.
you see when working with families?
Absolutely. I mean, and when I started decluttering, and I honestly, I am like, what did I got rid of, 75% of my possessions, and what did I get rid of? I literally cannot remember so many things. Um, but that is why I like to kind of keep and basically digitize the things that do matter, because honestly, I mean, I could forget about those too if time went on. I mean, not my top five, but things that I really do want to remember. So I like to digitize those.
Yeah. And I think like with recipes, part of the reason we hold on to them is that there's usually an emotional, like there's some connection there, right? It's the person who
Mhm,
cooked it, or it's we always had it at the holidays, or
mhm.
it brings back this memory of like when I was little growing up, like mom or grandmom or dad always made this. So how do
Yeah.
you balance that like sentimentality, like that emotional, like I need or I feel I need to hold on to this because of the emotion versus the practical, have I actually ever made it before? Am I ever going to make it before? Like, what is the reality there? Like, what's your advice if people are like really stuck in the middle of what do I do with those really sentimental parts?
Yeah, with the sentimental ones. I mean, start with the top, and then I mean, can we talk about artifacting them?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the solution. So, and I love, I don't know who on here is familiar with artifacting and everything, but Heather, you are just amazing at it. And I'm learning so much about being able to tell the story. So I love, for the sentimental ones that I have, it's great to be able to share the story with it and not just have a piece of paper, piles of pieces of paper, because honestly, that's what was passed down to me, and not a lot, to be honest. I don't have a lot of written recipes or a lot of cookbooks that were sentimental, but yeah, yes, thank you, Heather. This is my grandfather's Italian ricotta pie recipe. It's basically like my favorite. And traditionally, I don't know if there's any Italians on here, or people who are really familiar with Italian dishes, but this is only really a traditional Easter dish. But my kids don't know that because I make it every Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter. Thank you. And it's just really special to me because that is something that I used to make with my grandfather, and we would share that um, on Easter in our family. And I started making it with my kids, and I love, yeah, so this is my artifact page, and I love that I can upload audio to this, I can load up the photos to this, I can share it with people or keep it private. But I really do love that I can share the photos of me with them making it. And so they can go back and look at that.
Yeah. It helps, I think, especially when they're younger, they may not remember everything, but being able to go back and be like, oh, I remember grating the lemons and the orange and the zest and
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and then since their
Yeah.
mom's a minimalist, I don't have a zester, I just use that, guys.
Yep. I love it. Do you want to walk us through, Zoe, kind of your steps and how you digitize this and like what, when you were thinking about like telling the story behind this recipe, what was really important for you to include with that story?
Honestly, I'm such a photo person, and after seeing some of your artifacts, Heather, you're actually teaching me. I want this holiday season. I'm actually gonna artifact some more, but I'm gonna be more, intentional about doing the voice recording and whatnot. Because right now I have, photos that I've taken before, but um, I didn't get into too many details. I mean, this one is a public artifact, but it was just important to me to document this and share this with with my kids so that they can come back and look because I don't want to pass down piles of papers and piles of recipes and they have to sort through that and a lot of it isn't going to mean anything. And I know when my grandmother passed away, my I did a lot of the work to simplify or declutter or let go and get rid of her stuff.
Yep.
And it's really hard when you don't know what's important because
Mm.
you feel like you have to look through everything.
Yep.
And this makes it so people don't have to look through everything.
Yeah, no, that's totally, that resonates so deeply with me, Zoe, because it was the same when my mother passed away. If you don't mind, I'd love to show the audience one of my artifacty recipes, like our family story. It's
Yes, yes. Tell us about your moon is it
from
cookbook?
Moon Cooks.
Cook recipe.
Yes. So this is one that I did this to preserve the tradition for my daughter. So growing up, my mother, starting with Thanksgiving, pretty much every week would make a fresh batch of these cookies. And when I was two and learning to like have a much more advanced vocabulary than just, one syllable words, I could not call the recipe by its name, which was traditional sugar cookies. So because
Mm,
my mother cut them into moon shapes, I called them moon cooks. So growing up, I only knew this recipe as moon cooks. And the funny thing is, it stuck. Like our entire family knows this recipe by what I started calling it. And even my daughter today only knows the recipe by the name Moon Cooks. So when my mother passed, my some of the most cherished items that I kept from her estate happened to be her cookie cutters, which you can see here, those old vintage like 1970s the teaspoons, which it's funny, my daughter will like she now knows the story, but she used to look at these and be like, Mom, like you have a brand new set of teaspoons. Like, what are you doing with these? I was like, oh no, no. These are like grandma's teaspoons. Like these stay
yeah.
in the family. Like
They
we
don't make those anymore.
exactly. And the funny thing is I probably should donate the new teaspoons. I don't use the ones that I bought like a decade ago. I only use these.
Yeah.
They are my mother's. And then with this, I also included a copy of, or a photo of the cookbook, which I'm sure many of you may have one of those old Betty Crocker books. My mother's was falling apart at the seam. And then I also included a picture of the actual recipe with the handwritten. I don't know if you can, I'll zoom in, but with the
Yeah.
handwritten substitutions. So you can see it's a half cup butter and a quarter cup shortening. And those little details sometimes can totally change a recipe if you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So when I made this artifact, my thought process was I wanted my daughter to know the story behind these cookies. And you can see there's a very long story here. But in doing so, it also told the story of like our family history, our tradition. She knows the secret ingredients right here. The other beautiful thing by digitizing this, by taking the photos, adding the story, adding the recipe, I'll share this. Over the years, since I make these all the time, I always get requests around the holidays like, what's your moon cook recipe? And I no longer have to go dig out from a box of or a bin of cookbooks. I can quickly go to the digitized artifact, share the recipe. You can see I've shared it with a lot of people over the years.
Yeah.
It's right there, click the button, right? It makes it so easy not only to enjoy it for ourselves, but to also share it with others. We joke like share the love and the cookies. And the
Yeah.
other thing about this too is that when I was going through making the recipe, I wanted to ensure that my daughter knew the history of it, right? And then
Yeah.
in the future, I want her to know, like, keep the cookbook, keep the teaspoons. They're an important part of our family history. And I want to just quickly show people before we go into some more questions. I want to show folks how easy it is to digitize those recipes. Like Zoe was talking earlier about taking a photo, adding audio. You can either create from scratch, or in this case, I went into edit, but this is where you upload the media files, photos, video, audio. This is where you tell the story. If you're ever stuck on what to say in the story, there's some really simple questions here, like prompts to help you get started so you can capture the emotion and the sentiment. And then you can simply click save and you're done. You can also, one of my favorite features I do want to note, is down here with custom tags. And Zoe used a bunch of tags, but I've got all these tags that are private to me in my collection. But
Mhm.
mom's recipes, like I've artifacted all of her recipes because I didn't have space to keep dozens and dozens of cookbooks. I kept two that really mattered. Um, Same
Oh,
thing.
that's so good, Heather, just 2.
That's in addition to all of mine. I only kept two of hers.
Yeah,
But I can also create a tag for, everything I bake with my daughter. So it's a really, for
that's
me,
nice.
yeah, like it's telling that story.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen as we keep going on with the
Oh,
conversation.
no, I was like, this is great. I hope I'm gonna get this recipe too because, right, we all
Yeah.
need this recipe. No, and I really love the questions, the prompts, because so I don't think storytelling is my innate gift. So that for me is really helpful. And some of you know that Matt Paxton um, is my partner, and he, if you've heard him speak, is an amazing storyteller. So as just like your story, I need to work on. I need to go into more detail about the story and the experience behind it. That's really great.
Well, actually, I'll share one more recipe. And this one included a video, which oftentimes when you think about cookbooks and preserving those family traditions and kind of passing down those recipes, right? Like you think one dimension. You have a book, you have page, you have instructions. Hopefully you can follow them. Again, trying to teach my daughter like our traditions. I artifacted several Thanksgivings ago. I artifacted our cranberry sauce recipe. So I grew up in Cape Cod, right? We had cranberry bogs all around us. I grew up with my parents. You'd go help neighbors like pick their cranberry bogs. Like I could figure out what a good cranberry was. I
Mhm.
asked my daughter when she was like 10 or 11, I was like, all right, great. She's old enough to start like really helping cook the Thanksgiving dinner. I assigned her to chop up the cranberries for the sauce. And she started going, and then she was like, she had her keep pile and her toss pile. And at one point I looked over and I was kind of like, what's with the piles, sweetie? Like the toss piles, like towards the bag. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, it wasn't perfectly red. And I was kind of looked at her and I was like, what do you mean? Like they come in all different colors. You have like
Yeah,
pinkish, there's a little like brownish, like, there's a whole host of how cranberries look.
yeah.
It was, she was basing what was a good cranberry based on the color. And then I realized, okay, like this poor child has never actually gone through the process of picking a cranberry or like knowing
Mhm.
kind of like I took for granted what I grew up with. So in
Yeah.
this case, I artifacted the recipe of my mother's handwriting, like again, her substitutions. She was the queen of substitutions. So most of the time they were in her head, which is a little frustrating trying to recreate the recipes. Um, but then I also made a video to show my daughter like a good cranberry, is when it bounces. If you try
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
that, that's what does not go into the keep pile. That goes into the discard pile. But if it's pink or if it's like reddish brown, like whatever the color is, it's not based on color, it's
Yeah.
the drop. So now my daughter thinks this is the funniest thing ever because she now knows how to test for a good cranberry. And it's
Mhm.
become kind of like legend in our house.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
so sweet.
So that was one where combining the recipe with the story, with the
Yes.
video, like created a whole new family story and honestly a really good laugh for us around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. I want to jump back in. I know we had a lot of questions to get through, and I want to make sure we do address some of those. Um, let's see.
Yeah. Mel was just, and I know you have an order to things, but Mel was saying, does Artifact support video? So you just showed the video of the cranberry bouncing. So the answer to that is yes.
Yes. Excellent. I was trying to quickly scroll through to see if we have audience
Yeah.
questions. Um, so speaking of the process of artifacting, capturing a recipe, its story, and a photo, it can replace shelves of paper recipes or binders. What do you see as the simplest way for families to start that process without feeling overwhelmed? Is it starting with your favorites again, or do you have a different approach for how do you start?
I mean, I feel like I wish I had something new to say, but it really is that simple. Just start with your favorites because, and don't feel like you have to get through to so many or a big stack or, because I think that a lot of times artifacting or decluttering or any kind of new project that we're trying to get into, when we try to tackle too much, it just gets really overwhelming and we quit. So keep it really simple and use those prompts and put a video in or do the photos. Just start with with your favorite one. And if you don't have any photos, I guess the holiday is coming up because I'm going to make some new little memories to put in my artifacts for some recipes. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And you can
it's just
also use a photo of the actual recipe.
yeah,
That's the way, that's a really quick and easy cheat if you're trying to get through. Like if you've got a pile of cookbooks and you're like, I literally use one recipe from this book, and you've got
yeah.
10 like that, that
Hmm.
could be a good cheat until you actually make the recipe.
That's true. And then don't be like me though and say, "Oh, this is not good handwriting," because I copied it from my grandparents' recipe. So I don't have their actual handwriting. So it doesn't matter, guys. Doesn't matter what the handwriting looks like. Just snap a photo of it anyway.
And I'm going to share on my end, like when I think about like where to start, when I went through this process, going through my mother's, like her recipes, her cookbooks, and she passed away very sadly, very suddenly, 3 weeks before Christmas. And it's a
Mm,
holiday that we celebrate as a family. And it was one of those things where you're grieving, but then also suddenly, like the eldest only girl, it's your job to put on Christmas for the family, right?
yep.
And for me, I started with what I thought others didn't know. And that's where the mooncakes came in. Like she altered pretty much every ingredient in that recipe. Like she used
Yeah.
vanilla extract, not almond extract. She used butter, not margarine or Crisco. So I was trying to think for me, I was like, oh my gosh, like if I don't capture this now, and thankfully a lot of those were favorites.
Mhm.
But for my starting point, having lost a loved one going through this, it was, what do I know that others don't know?
Yeah.
That was my like, let's capture it now.
Yeah.
And now that I got through that, that was kind of my first year. Like now that I've got through that, it's much more like the family favorites or usually the ones everyone asks for.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how easy it is to like literally click a button and like I can
Mhm.
share the recipe. It's no longer on my to-do list when I get back home after having the conversation or forgetting or uh,
Yeah.
it makes it
Yeah.
really easy.
No, in fact, when we were getting ready for this, I messaged my cousin for another recipe that she has that was my grandparents. That was days ago, guys. I still don't have the recipe because she's gonna have to go sort through some stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be telling her how to do this.
How we make it so simple, right?
I know.
For someone who's new to artifacts, how would you walk them through a minimalist approach to digitizing recipes? Like one that really focuses on the quality versus the quantity?
Yeah, so you're talking about aside from choosing your favorites,
Yep.
and then, don't feel like you have to do everything. Just don't feel like you have to do a video and a photo and the file and, just and the you know what? You can go back in and edit these too.
Yep.
So really put just do one. Just do one and do whatever's easier. If it's a photo or if it's voice or if it's just copying, pasting the recipe into the description and writing 2 sentences about it. Just do that because you can always go back in and edit it and add.
Right. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? And I think that's a
No.
big theme that you're always hitting on. I'm always so impressed. Like I remind myself, like Zoe says it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, oh my goodness, because if I do that, I'm not gonna get anything done.
Yeah,
Nothing.
exactly. And
Yeah,
that we still will be at Thanksgiving being like, okay, I still have to go through all
yeah,
6 books to find the different recipes that I'm gonna make and create. And
yeah.
yeah, it gets overwhelming really fast.
Yeah, and, for me, because, I was there when my grandmother passed away, and literally, and then taking care of her stuff. It does remind me to just go back and be like, okay, you know what, done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
And because otherwise, it's just not going to happen. It's just going to be one of those things on my big to-do list, and it's important. And I love to pass down these memories and everything, and obviously without the clutter.
That's a great point, Zoe. And I want to remind folks, if you do have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We're happy if you've got something burning in your mind, happy to
Yeah.
address them as they come up. Um, I wanted to play off of the whole, like, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? When we were
Mhm.
designing and building artifacts, that was a really big piece of it for us, was how do we get families to be able to just literally snap a photo, add a short story. You can talk
Yeah.
text. You can go back in and edit. When I think about kind of how I've used it with my recipes, I've certainly gone back in over time. Like I will literally start with taking a photo from the cookbook. And then if I am in the case, we recently moved this past summer, downsized yet again. So I think Matt would be very proud of us. We're now down to, I think, 1,400 square feet. So we're we're making progress. But
Yeah.
you couldn't take everything, right? So
Mhm.
when I was going through the moving process, it was all right, like I've got to further pare down my cookbook collection and I've got to deal with that drawer of recipes that we probably all have that in our junk drawer, right? Like you rip something out of a magazine. Like
Mhm.
I'm guilty with Real Simple. Like I, in some ways, love the magazine, but I also feel really guilty because I'll like tear out all these recipes, pop them in the drawer, and then I never look at them.
Yeah,
What good is that, right?
I know.
So for me, it was a very quick, like, grab a photo. And even my story was like, I want to make this someday, like, end of story, save. Like, it allowed me to actually get
Yeah.
rid of the recipe.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a good point that, you don't want to actually hold on to that, but you're like, maybe I want to make this someday. And then, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's good.
All right, Laura, I'm really happy I'm not the only one that's done with that with real simple recipes.
No, you probably are not. Yes. Can I answer one of the comments here in the, let's see. So I think somebody thought that one of you think, somebody said, hey, Matt Paxton. So as you can see, Matt Paxton is not on um, this webinar, but maybe we could get him on in December.
We
We could,
certainly could. But you
yeah,
know what
we,
I will do? I will pop a link in the chat with one of Matt's favorite recipes that he artifacted from his, actually, it's his grandmother's cookbook, right?
yes,
With
but
all
is
the family recipes.
he keeps that lock and sealed. He does, he artifacted the cookbook, right? But did he actually share any recipes? I don't,
I don't think he actually shared, now that you mention it, I don't think he actually shared recipes. I think he just simply shared the cookbook. There
yeah,
might be a recipe in there, but even he like appreciates the simplicity of
yes. Oh,
not.
no, yeah, and he artifacted his grandmother's bowl, and we use that, at Thanksgiving. We, use that on special occasions, and, I
Yep.
mean, I try to use it regularly too, but, so, yeah, so Matt's not on here, but maybe we could get him on in December because I know that, one idea that he's had, he wants to do a, kinda artifacting your favorite family ornament, so that would
That
be fun,
that would be a lot of fun, like workshop style. I love it.
yeah, yeah. Okay, somebody has to leave at 3:30. Yes, there will be, oh, no, Heather, it says, "Will there be a presentation which will be shared?" If
Yes.
you're viewing this now, can they view it again later?
Yes, we do have this will be posted to our YouTube channel, and I'll pop that link into chat right now.
Okay.
That way you can view this after the fact. There's also, we even have a video on YouTube or on the channel about how
Mhm,
to actually artifact your recipes step by step. So if you watch this and you're feeling really inspired, but you're also left wondering, like, okay, I know to start with my favorites, but after that, what do I actually do? We
mhm.
have that there as well. So I will pop the link into chat right here. And this will be available tomorrow afternoon. We'll post the recording so everyone can see it. And I think we got another question too, Zoe, about Mel has a box of VCR tapes and family Thanksgivings, Christmases, and vacations. Do you have
Mhm.
any idea how I can get these transferred to DVD, or is there another technology?
Heather, do you have a favorite place for that?
Yeah, so there's several different companies, Mel. I think my biggest question to you is, are you comfortable shipping those off somewhere, or would you rather go local? What we have found over the years is that when you factor in, because typically either if you're going to ship it, they won't charge you for shipping it, but they'll charge you to return it. Or in some cases, companies won't actually even return the originals, they'll just return the DVD or whatever the new medium is, like a thumb drive. So we have found over the years, if you have a local option, there's usually there are photo digitization or photo restoration companies that can do just that, transferring the VCR tapes or VHS tapes to DVDs. Typically, the price point is equivalent to shipping it somewhere, and then you don't have the hassle or headache or concern of I just sent all my family videos in a
Mhm,
box, across the country. What's going to happen to them? If, however, you prefer to do the use a company
mhm,
you do ship with, or you don't have a local company, Legacy Box is a great resource. They can do that for you. They'll digitize, and then you can get back the originals plus either the DVD or if you choose a thumb drive or even a cloud option. There's also a fabulous company called Projector, which we're going to have them joining us later, I think in December, for a conversation about just this topic, family videos, VHS tapes, DVDs. But they allow you to actually stream your original VHSs, DVDs from the cloud. So it's like Netflix for home videos.
mhm.
I'll pop that link in as well as the one for Legacy Box. Just a sec. So yeah, there's a couple of resources that can help you. Um, and again, I think the choice is really, do you prefer to ship your items or do you prefer to have someone local or do you have someone local? Um,
Yeah.
so sorry, this is taking a moment to pop up. I'll get the link in just a sec. So,
Oh, great. You did a post. Mary Pat says she did a post on her elderly cousin's cookbook.
oh, that's
Thanks
wonderful.
for sharing that.
That's fabulous. And it looks like folks, Legacy Box has already started their Black Friday deals. So if you do want the option to ship, Mel, it could be a really great, um, and it's on sale. So even better. Um, I think just from since our topic is about like simple, easy ways to preserve the recipes, but also those family memories and traditions, once you get them back, I would highly recommend figuring out how can you get them up into the cloud so you can share them.
Mhm.
We go through all this work to get them digitized or to get them cloud-based
Yeah.
and make sure your family can view them, right? Uh,
Mhm.
that's my husband just went through losing his mother, and they're dealing with boxes of slides, VHS tapes, like the little teeny tiny tapes that were well before VHS tapes. And it sucks. You have these family memories, but right now no one can view them. So I think it's important to try to, once you have it digitized, like find a way that you can safely and securely share with loved ones that works for you, right? There's so many different solutions out there. So what other questions do we have?
Heather, are you able to share Mary Pat's
Yeah, I can
cousin's
put Mary Pat's, of course.
that up? So
Yeah,
I think that's great.
let me do that. Be a lot of fun. Oh, and Mary Pat, looks like you included audio. This is fabulous. Let me share the screen. What a fun example. Oops, it's thinking. And we also, folks, I'm also going to pop into chat. We do have a handout that Zoe and I created. It gives you a step-by-step, kind of 4 easy steps to how can you simply digitize your recipes and also some things to consider as you're digitizing them. And then it also gives you can scan a QR code and go view Zoe's famous ricotta pie. So if you're feeling so inspired this Thanksgiving, you could follow her tradition. But here is Mary Pat's. Oh, this is wonderful.
Oh, this is wonderful.
I love the old photo. Yep, you've got
Look
this.
at that.
Mary Pat, I think your mother and my mother were kindred spirits. It looks like
Yeah.
everything was substituted.
Oh, don't you just love that old cursive handwriting?
Yes. And that's, I think, why we keep some of these things, right?
I'm gifted me Aunt Catherine Simon's 1950 Betty Crocker's picture cookbook.
Oh, it's Betty Crocker too. I love it, Mary Pat. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for sharing.
thank you for sharing that.
That is fabulous. Um, So special. And I think having the voice, this is one thing that I think about when I'm digitizing and specifically artifacting. I do want to note if you aren't using artifacts, you can use, Google Drive. You can use even your
Mhm,
laptop or desktop, like create a Word doc. You don't have to use artifacts to do this. You can still take photos, add stories. I think it's really important though, when we were talking about passing down the family traditions and the history, it's you've got to document it somewhere, right? Like our
mhm,
kids aren't mind readers. And that's one thing I think about. Like I love including the audio or video because I know someday like I won't be here and my daughter's probably still going to have questions about like, well, how do I know the cranberry is good or how do I make the biscuit dough? Like,
mhm.
and I think having that audio, like I really wish I had more audio of my mother. I don't actually have any. So I think the fact that you've included the audio, Mary Pat, is amazing.
Yeah. And Matt says that as well too. His dad passed away when he was younger, and he
Wow.
doesn't have any audio of his dad as well. So I should go into Matt's artifacts and see if he's left any audio.
He actually does a lot of his, at least his public artifacts, he does a
Yeah.
lot of audio, which I think is really cool because
Yeah.
he's telling the story for your kids, right? Like it's
Yeah.
part of that family history. Oh, I forgot the projector link. Let me grab that, Cindy. Great for reminding me on that.
Mhm.
Louis, are there other questions in there?
Yeah. And then side question, not recipe specific. That's totally fine. You
Yeah.
mentioned parents' old slides. Suggestion for how to go through.
Again, old slides, you're probably going to be looking to find a local company or a photo manager who can help you go through and figure out what's what. Because chances are, our parents are well, I say no different than us, but these days, we sit down and we take a photo of what we're eating before we sit down and eat.
Mhm,
I don't think our parents did that, but I certainly have seen a number of landscape portraits. And like you go on they joke about the whole like the slide carousel and come back from vacation and sit down and showing everyone your photos. Well, we're dealing with that with my mother-in-law who passed. And it's for every maybe one photo of a human or one slide of a human, there's a solid 10, 12 of landscapes, which they spent a lot of time overseas as a couple. And after a while, one kind of African desert landscape or one African safari photo looks a whole lot like the others. So I think you probably would want to find someone to help you go through, or you can do it yourself, like hold them up to a light and see, but you want to probably curate, like pick the ones you want to digitize
mhm,
because converting slides to digital photos typically is a little bit more expensive than converting VHS to DVD. I don't know why, that's just what I've seen over the years. But if you can curate the collection and get down like which ones do you actually want to digitize, and then again, either use a local company, like or a local photo manager to do that for you, or you can again use Legacy Box. And I'm going to pop the projector link into chat as well. Thank you, Cindy, for reminding us about that.
and I see we have just a few more people that now joined us. But if you have any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat for us.
Yeah. Um, all right, one more. So, as you've gone through this artifacting process, Zoe, what are kind of your key takeaways getting ready for the holidays? What can folks do to reduce the stress, reduce the clutter, and enjoy more? I think your newsletter last week had some amazing tips that it wasn't just solely digitizing, but it was just the whole how do you get to enjoy this, which I think all of us we're here today because we want to enjoy the holidays, right?
Yeah,
One part of
no,
it.
definitely. And I mean, being able to be, present, and so presence over perfection, right?
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect. I think, we just have to set some of that stuff aside, all the things that we want to get done. I'm a creative person. I like to paint and do all this, so I can tend to like collect too much art stuff and things that, I'm not even going to have time to use. So I think just going into the season, as far as the recipes go, is just to pick a few, and maybe this season, this holiday, you can take a few more photos or record yourself making it and do some audio, and really leave something that is more meaningful, and then that it doesn't matter later what if something happens to the paper, the recipe, like it's all there.
Yeah. And we even have a fun checklist that folks could use if they're, all right, getting inspired, not sure, kind of like helter skelter. I'm going to pop the link into the checklist, which is it's a good one. It can, and you can use the checklist if you're
Mhm,
having family over for the holidays. All this work does not have to fall on you, right? You
yeah.
have family homework. If someone is bringing grandma's apple pie, well, gosh darn it, like ask them to either artifact or digitize the recipe and share it with the family. Same thing
Mhm,
if you're using the family silver, or if you're whatever it happens to be, but don't feel the burden has to be solely on you. I think part of that too is, and I'll fully admit this, like when I get into holiday mode, like I feel like I've got to do it. I think part of it is, to your point, Zoe, like be willing to set things aside. And
mhm,
even if things aren't done exactly how you would, if you're able to delegate a little bit, that
mhm.
could help a lot too. We do have a question from one of our participants. Matt asks, I have a box with 2 rows of 3x5 cards of my mom's cursive handwritten recipes. I plan to scan them and attach them as a multi-page PDF to an artifact, but I don't know if I can really create the dishes as I don't have the little bit of this or little bit of that. If I do get any of this right, I'll have to start the story and tell how I had these things as a kid. Any thoughts on how to really focus people to get the actual dishes captured while they still can voice just the written recipes that might have a mysterious outcome?
Well, that's a tough. Okay, so first challenge is digitizing all of these, right? Plan, or you're going to scan them all.
Yeah.
Um, Instead of, I don't know, where you feel like your greatest challenge is, but that sounds like a big task to me. So I would probably maybe just break it down, scan a couple, and go through the motions with a couple of the recipes that you want to do, and see how manageable that feels,
Mhm.
rather than you know the the whole box. Or yeah,
Yeah.
Heather, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm totally with that on the scanning side. Completely
Mhm.
agree. I think the other piece when reading this question, my takeaway from it is it
Okay.
sounds like maybe like what he inherited, like mother was a really good cook, right? And maybe you're worried about like you can't recreate the recipes. Like you may try, but you don't have, some of those old recipes, you use coffee cans as measuring cups, right? Like back in the day
Hmm. Yeah.
in biscuits or other things. So if you could artifact the recipe, and
Hmm.
maybe this is where you use a story field to like share your memory of like, oh my gosh, this was the best biscuit recipe ever, and mom made them with fresh buttermilk from the like you can go in and describe like how it actually was. You could
Hmm.
save the recipe, and depending on your sense of humor, you could also, give your kids or friends or family a warning like, hey, this is the recipe as it was digitized. Not sure how it's going to turn out, but this is how I remember it, right? Because I think
Yeah.
that is you probably want the handwriting because that's a sentimental emotional piece. You probably have really good memories of whatever the recipe is growing up as a kid. And if you can't recreate it, this is where I think I would say I'd go back to your advice, Zoe, of it's okay to like set it aside and be like, all right, I got it digitized, I got it saved, I got it artifacted, but I'm not gonna stress over if I can't make it the same exact way that grandma or mom made it. Like, this is okay. Like, the story in this case is probably more important than the actual recipe if I were to hedge a guess.
Hmm. So I agree with that, Heather. And then um, Matthew, thanks for clarifying. So you said to follow up. I think we all, will get to it, but we fail to do that. Absolutely. So how can we motivate people to act? So I think you're asking, how can you motivate the other people in your family to share the recipes? Um, Maybe make it like I don't know if you celebrate Christmas or you do gift exchange, but say, hey, write everybody in a group email, hey, I just had this crazy idea because, life is short and want to keep the stuff that matters. I thought this would be great. Could everybody just exchange, one or do one and see if you get a response? And I would follow that up with, and here's mine.
Yeah.
And, you know, um, share that with them. So like they're getting something, they're getting what you want them to give. And so that might be motivating for them.
Yeah. And I think Zoe, I love the idea. And I think that plays nicely off of another question that we just got about from Cindy. Could she start an archive that other family members can add to over time? So
Mhm.
100% yes. And again, if you use artifacts, awesome. It is super simple. You can make a custom tag like family name, recipe archive, or whatever you want it to be. If you're using a Google Doc, fabulous. The important part is digitizing and again, delegating some of that work where they can add their recipes, they can add their memories. Because I think the other piece of this too, right, is that
Mhm.
maybe, grandma always made these biscuits for Thanksgiving. We probably all have really different memories about them. Like someone may love them smothered in gravy, someone else like with butter or whatever it happens to be, right? So you can
Yeah.
ask your family to add in their memories, add in the recipes, add in the traditions.
Well, and also what a great gift exchange to do that doesn't add, another thing to take care of or cost, money. So I think I should add that to my gift exchange list that I share with my readers. That's a great idea.
It's one of my
Uh,
sharing
yeah.
lists.
So just to address this one more time, so Matt's not on the Zoom, but Matt is not here either. He's not home. She would like Matt to come on the Zoom, but I will tell him that he was missed. That's going to make him very happy. He is away filming at his TV show. So
So we'll have them on another time, we promise.
yes, he is really funny.
Excellent. All right, folks, do we have any additional questions before we end for today? We did pop the link to the checklist for all the culinary items, recipes included. That could be a great way for you to give your family homework. We
Mhm.
also attached the artifacts, the PDF that Zoe has with her recipe and the tips, the 4 steps to really simply and quickly digitize those recipes, adding the story. Um, we also have further back up is the link to Zoe's book. I do love Minimalism for Families. It was a required reading in my household before, not last move, but the move before that move. And Zoe, it made a huge difference, let me tell you.
I'm glad it was helpful.
So excellent. All right, folks, if there are no
Yeah.
other questions.
Mary Pat, thanks for being here. Cindy, everybody that I'm not mentioning, but Mel,
Yeah.
it was great to be here and have this conversation. We hope that you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And as a reminder, the recording will be available starting tomorrow on the Artifacts YouTube channel, so feel free to check it out. You'll also, having registered for, you'll get a follow-up email that includes the links as well. The handout in the chat, so feel free to download that. We'll also post that with the YouTube video, so if you missed it in chat, you can get it from the video posting as well. And like Zoe said, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you all have a really enjoyable holiday with your families. There's the train, Mary
there's
Pat.
the train, guys. I live literally across the street from a train. We'll just
I guess we're right on schedule, right?
let that go by. Yeah, it's like 23 times a day in a 24-hour period. Crazy enough, it does not wake me up.
It's funny, growing up, we actually were right by an old railroad crossing, and during the summer there was the tourist train. So the winter, there was no train. But in the summer, it came by like from 8 a.m. to like 8 p.m., like on the hour, every hour, and you literally could keep time based on the tourist train.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thanks, Jan.
Yeah.
Okay.
You all have a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy those recipes. Spread the love, share the recipes, share the tips and tricks. And hopefully you can find a way too to declutter some of maybe those extra recipes, that
Yeah.
drawer of real simple recipes. Very guilty of that.
Yeah.
So you only use
Done
one.
is better than perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right. On that note,
Okay.
Chantal,
Bye,
take care.
everyone.
Bye.